Okay. So we'll start with the basic questions. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Cooktown, far North Queensland. I was born in Brisbane, moved up there when I was about 3 years old, so that's all I've ever known, growing up in the beaches and the bush.
And what got you into music in general?
Growing up, I didn't really understand music. I didn't really understand how you could hear something and that's going to make you feel good. And then I think at one point I just heard hip hop and was just like, whoa, that's mad poetry, that's a mad beat, that's a mad story going on. And it was tricky when we first started because there wasn't any music about boys growing up in the bush or even Aussie hip hop. Like, it's weird to say now, but when I was growing up, if you wanted to be a rapper, it was just because you wanted to be black. We were just paid out constantly, you know? So working on that, I realized we did have quite a special story to tell, and it was tricky at first making songs about that because you imitate what you're into, you know what I mean? So people that are into grunge, they listen to their grunge bands and they start playing and they'll make that grunge sound. There wasn't any like authentic North Queensland hip hop sound that we could sort of attach ourselves to, so we had to build it, and it basically came from there. So in high school, kicked it off and just stuck with it.
So what influences helped get that sort of theme with the North Queensland?
Sounds weird, but like Simon and Garfunkel, Cat Stevens, not so much hip hop in regard to that sound. It's more the lyrics, the way that words went together. I really liked. I like true poetry rather than just that banging. I mean, I like gangster rap too, you know what I mean? But my lyrics are probably influenced much more by real music. You know what I mean?
Genuine meaning behind it.
Bling and bitches and big boobs and butts and you know.
And do you enjoy being a rapper in Townsville? Do you enjoy representing that sort of genre that's coming out?
Oh, hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like, I just think life's too short to not do what you love doing. So I've always sort of followed my gut, my heart, not so much my head. But I regret nothing. Like, I love it. I love where we come from. So many people were like, a few years ago, they were like, oh, true, yeah, you got a mad style, man. You should move down to Melbourne. Oh, you got mad skills. You should move down to Sydney. It's like, why? There's so many rappers in Melbourne. There's so many rappers in Sydney. Why not stay in North Queensland and make a sound here? So I love it, man. I wouldn't be doing what I did if I didn't love it.
So linking that up with the scene, is the scene in Townsville like
the scene?
Yeah.
When I first moved here, the hip hop scene was seemingly non-existent. And then after being here a few years, I started getting to know a few cats who are into graffiti and stuff like that. And then it seemed like the hip hop scene just blew up. It was just the right time. Lots of crews here, lots of battles going down, lots of flavour. It's kind of waned off now where there's still a really healthy hip hop scene here, but it doesn't have that raw kind of aggressive kind of push that it used to have.
Yeah.
So I guess it's settled down a bit. It's good.
So what other stuff do you do besides rapping, like work or?
I'm a school teacher, which I cannot believe. I've always done a lot of they let me work with kids. Can you believe it? No, I mean I always love working with kids. I always love using my head rather than my hands. But I've got a very mechanically minded family, so I'm a bit of a black sheep. And I've always felt like I'm here to make a difference. And as a school teacher, it really feels like I make a difference rather than just rapping to a bunch of drunken idiots that afterwards are like, "I love your shit, man." Kids are more like those light bulb moments. It's like, whoa, they just learnt something. It's mad.
And would you say that your work affects how you rap and things you rap for?
I got a lot of rowdy music. It should. I mean, the journey that I've been on, I don't know how long this interview can go for and stuff, but the journey that I've been on, I threw myself into the hip hop, threw myself into the music, so I didn't consider what I was going to be doing in 10 years. The way that it all happened, I didn't know how long I was going to be on planet Earth, and I didn't want to mess around. Almost said fuck. Said fuck around then.
It's alright.
I don't know.
It's gonna be real, it's alright.
I'm a rapper, alright? What was I saying? I didn't know how long what? Oh, that's right. So I didn't have a plan for my future where I was going to end up. I just did what I wanted to in the moment and sort of love those good vibrations. The fact that I'm able to now come back and be a teacher, when I first went to university, I was in this real weird headspace where I'd made some rowdy ass music about some rowdy ass stuff with a lot of inappropriate lyrics. But I've never been that kind of person, so I'm a good person hanging out with bad people telling their stories, if that makes sense. And then when I became a teacher, I started wigging out like, oh my God, is my past now going to come back to haunt me? Because I don't even have a criminal record, man. I got so many friends that have fallen, but I'm fine. I'm a good person, got a good heart. So there was this crossroad where I was afraid that my music would be interpreted that I was a bad person, and I'm just glad that I've been able to continue making music about the same stuff that I made music about, because it's very close to my heart, but I've been able to work in the school system as well. I'm blessed, man. I've lived a blessed life, I really have.
And have you ever used your rapping abilities to say help kids or teach kids in a certain way?
Before I was a teacher, I was doing a lot of youth work. I should have mentioned that before.
Yeah.
So I've done lyric writing workshops, hip hop workshops, made hip hop videos and songs with like Cleveland Youth Detention Center here in Townsville. Up to Cairns, there was a lot of summer camps and stuff that I went to. Kids just getting into music and stuff. So before I even became a teacher, I was doing a lot of youth work with disengaged youth. I had my car stolen 2 years ago, and last year I was doing a what would you call it, like youth work with, found out one of the kids actually stole my car. That was interesting. So I was able to break down the barriers there. Just not letting him know where I live nowadays or what kind of car I drive. But it's good to have a positive influence.
Alright, so I'm focusing on Tour of My City, which is...
It's hard for me to focus, but we'll try.
Yeah, that's right. So would you say that's like your biggest one out yet? Did you enjoy making that the most? I noticed the music video definitely brought a lot more attention to it.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of the music that's being released on City of Sirens, Dawn and Dusk, I recorded the year after my debut album. So I dropped the Storyteller LP in 2008, had probably 25 of the 30 something songs that are on the album recorded the next year, and my style had already taken. It's like, I think Nas said once, you can hear a rapper's hunger on his first album, and you listen to my first album and I'm just so loud and so aggressive, and then that next year recording all that music, it had all calmed right down, so my style progressed, and that's when I wrote Tour of My City as well. So I guess it's the same thing of growing up in Cooktown and wanting to speak about where I come from. Because I figure like a big hurdle to jump over was everyone used to rap in an American accent because that's the only influence we had. Yeah. But I truly believe if you listen to a hip hop song, whether it's UK, American, French, Aussie, whatever, you should be able to hear that voice and know where it came from. So with Tour of My City, it's essentially just, it's second nature of just being like, this is who I am, this is what I do, and this is where I come from, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really good that so much of Townsville got behind that. That was nuts. I had a lot of fun doing that one.
And do you feel like the song, like you mentioned certain like areas like Kelso and all that, do you believe that's like a good representation of the area?
I think the people believe that it's an accurate representation of the area. Times change. I moved to Townsville in 2003, I think. And a lot of the same issues that were up north. Like I don't like tiptoeing around things. So drugs is an issue, violence is an issue, crime is an issue. It's a bit different up north to what it is here in Townsville. I even find Townsville's, there's like a savagery like bubbling underneath all of the issues here. So I feel like it needs to be addressed and not just brushed to the side like, oh, we got a great city here. We do have a great city, but there's issues here, man, and we got to talk about those issues, you know. So I don't necessarily think everybody in West End sells weed, and I don't think everyone in Kelso is going to steal your mobile phone. But I've scored weed in Kelso, and I had my phone stolen once in West End. Had my phone stolen in Kelso. So I mean, for me, it's accurate.
Yeah,
it's accurate.
And do you feel like some of the songs you make could possibly change that? Like you said, break down the barrier, working with kids. Do you believe your music would help change that, or it more just carries on the story of what happens in the area?
Good question, brother. I would like to think it changes. I mean, I'm reading a lot of those comments when we first put that video up. We got 50,000 something views. There were a lot of comments saying, "Oh, this is my suburb. You know, this is so true." And then there's some people saying, "Oh, he doesn't even talk about Vincent. He doesn't know what goes on in Vincent." Like I do. That was the first suburb that I moved to. So I like to think that I am getting discussions going. I'm causing a little bit of a ripple, and that I'm making change. I'm not just, change is the only constant, man. It's going to happen anyway.
And how do you feel like if you could change Townsville to sort of make it better, how would you change it?
Green grass. Green grass is mad. Like we had some rain recently, so it's getting a little green, but yeah, no, I love Cairns. I love Cooktown. I love the tropical rainforest and the creeks and everything you can swim in. So Townsville's a beautiful spot. In terms of what I would change, girls are pretty. nightlife. I don't go out so much. It used to get real violent in town, drunken idiots just. But I think all that, yeah, I've been in town a long time. I don't even really go out unless I'm performing somewhere. So there isn't too much I'd change. I mean, I'm happy. I think it's not what you do in this town, it's who you know. You just got to surround yourself with good people, and I feel like I've got a good crew around me now. So after saying, yeah, I want change, I think, no, I wouldn't really change much. I'm pretty happy.
Would you say it's calmed down a lot since when you first came here and when you were younger?
Yeah, but I think I've calmed down a lot as well. I think a lot of the drama I used to get caught up in, I kind of did to myself. The crew that I was running with, we kind of, you know, we were rappers. Rappers have got egos. We left Groove in the Moo once. One of our crew ran up over Silverchair's limousine. I mean, we were just running amok. So I'm a teacher now. A lot of my friends sort of like, they got jobs, they got families and stuff. So of course it's calmer, but I'm sure for the kids listening to my music, they're seeing a whole savage side of Townsville I've lost touch with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And now talking about Townsville in general, have you done any more live concerts? And what's your schedule? Yeah.
The last concert that I did was supporting Seth Century in Townsville and then up in Cairns. I tend not to perform so much anymore. Like I said, we used to be this little rapper crew that was sort of love jumping in a tour bus and going up on tours and stuff like that. And it's still fun, but it's how would I put it? I don't perform so much anymore because it takes a lot of your time. It takes a lot of the weekends traveling and stuff like that, thinking about it, rehearsing, and just the fact that I've got a real job now working with kids. I don't want to keep my focus as this rowdy ass kind of, I'd like to take the best elements from it and drop that into my new life right now. So it's all just evolving, you know?
Yeah. And basically...
Man, I talk a lot. If I'm not directly answering these questions, you need to tell me,
It is really good. It's good. Cool. And is it hard starting up as a rapper in Townsville? Like you said, how people always try to be American or they try to be...
Yeah.
Would you say it's hard to sort of grip that style and become something themselves in Townsville, especially?
Well, I mean, I grew up in Cooktown. There was nothing. I wouldn't say that it's hard. I think when I grew up, the crew that I ran with, was just four of us growing up in a small town that started to rap and sort of stuff like that. We didn't have anybody we could run demos to. We didn't even, Bliss and SO was sort of getting started. Hilltop was just getting started. Draft was just getting started with the Syllabolics crew. Like when we were listening to these guys, they were nothing. They weren't on the radio. So we weren't able to record a demo. I mean, I think I did. I sent one with a ransom note. but that's another story. We didn't have anybody we could run to and be like, listen to this song and put us on a label. There was no label. I was like the first one with my mate Marvin Baumeister to kick off Scratch Hound with a hip-hop label. And then everyone in the region seemed to flock to us and want something. So there's a real perception of, especially today, that if I want to make it in the music industry or anything, I need to get good, really quickly, and then I need to go and see somebody that can help me. Whereas, just build your style, man. Don't throw up videos on YouTube yet. Don't try to get your demo seen until you got a real sound. And I feel like that's what we had. Growing up in Cooktown, we were isolated from everybody, so we were able to forge our sound, then move to a city and try to make that next step. Whereas everybody these days, I get a lot of messages from a lot of fans, and I love you all, but find yourselves. Just find your own style, craft your own style. Don't imitate what you've heard. It's impossible not to, because like I said before, I liked hip-hop, so when I first started making hip-hop music, it sounded a lot like the hip-hop I was listening to, and it's like that in every genre. It's only ever one step beyond the artist that the artist was inspired by, if that makes sense. And I've forgotten where I was going, so.
That's good, yeah. So, final question, just to kind of wrap it all up. Is Townsville, the right place for your genre? You want to stay in Townsville? You've pretty much answered it already, but is Townsville the right place for Buttah, the rapper?
I would say yes. I mean, whether Cairns likes it or not, it's the capital of North Queensland, so I feel like this is a good middle point to reach up north and down south and out west. I really think it is. The music that I made, as big and loud as I am and as much noise as I make, I've only ever made music for myself. I truly believe, every artist says that, I just make it to express myself. I really do. Like I said, I recorded these songs in 2009, and they would have lived on my computer. I would have never released this music if it wasn't for Marvin, who I mentioned earlier, and my brother Mitchell. There's a million stories I could go into, but I'll try to keep it simple. So I always made music for myself. I didn't care too much about who heard it. I'd listen to a couple of them from time to time, have a little cry or whatever, and then move on. So Townsville's great for me because it's almost like the music has been brought out of me and it's kind of kicked me back into gear. I got epilepsy a few years ago that really rocked me. I felt like the confident path that I was on, started to have seizures every day and just waking up in hospital at random moments. It messed with me, hey, and it took me a long time to get back to what I felt was a semi-clear headspace where I could give too many words for each question and each answer. So I think, yeah, Townsville's a good spot for me. It feels like home. I feel like I can speak for and to the people in this region. And you don't get this in Brisbane or Sydney or Melbourne. You know what I mean? I love the bush. I grew up in the bush. I speak for the bush. We don't have enough of it left in the world.
Anything else you'd like to add? Tell anyone at home?
I love you all. Do what you want to do. Life's too short not to. And be useful, truthful, thoughtful and happy. You got that?
Yeah.